continue. So welcome everyone to Marketing Essentials for Coaches, and I am delighted to have Lenka with me today. I have met with and had advice from Lenka on so many occasions and have really benefited from her advice so many times, and she's been very giving with that. And so I'm absolutely delighted to introduce her to our community of coaches. And so there's some alumni amongst us, and there's a few others from outside, but I'm absolutely delighted to have you here with us today, Lenka.
It's great to be here. Lovely to meet everyone, and thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. So I think, first of all, and this is going to be quite an informal conversation around marketing, particularly geared towards coaches, because everyone here in the room is a coach. And I think we're going to start off with a little bit of conversation, and then we'll open it up to the group for questions. And the good thing is I do have a list of kind of questions that people have asked me and said, I can't make it, but can you ask Lenka this? But the people who are here have turned up, and so I want to honor them and allow them to have a bit of your time, and they can maybe get specific answers, and we can go a bit deeper into what it is for them. Does that sound good to you, Lenka?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm here to answer any questions, any specific, go into detail to individual cases and see how I can help everyone who showed up today. And obviously from those lessons with people here, everyone watching the replay can still get the value from it as well.
Great, fantastic. So then I guess the first thing for me to ask you is, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and how you came to be in the marketing world.
Well, that's an interesting question. How did I end up in marketing? I will get to it, but I will start saying, hi, I'm Lenka. I'm an organic marketing strategist, trainer, and consultant, which means that I mainly work with people on their digital marketing, and I'm specializing in the organic part, which means the not paid part, which often is around content and engagement. And I used to work especially in social media marketing, but in the past couple of years, I've really been embracing the whole digital sphere, looking more into email marketing, obviously content marketing, video marketing, and all that comes with it. And I've always worked mainly with businesses and mainly with businesses providing services. So obviously coaches is a big part of that. And in the past couple of years, I've been on my own journey of kind of thinking where my career is heading and who I really want to be working with. And I've been getting more and more into the health and well-being sphere, which obviously then means a lot more exposure and work and wonderful relationship with coaches and therapists and all the people who work in this area, which is wonderful. How I got into marketing is a different story. I studied journalism and economics. So I was supposed to be kind of a journalist, potentially writing for Financial Times or The Economist. But I realized that journalism was very restrictive in a way that I had to write in a certain way. I had to perform in a certain way. And I always enjoyed writing my opinion and sharing my opinions, but also having conversations around what I write, what I share, what I believe, what I think, what other people think. And that's where I discover marketing, that actually allows me to write, to create content, to educate people, but in a way that really I can make it my own, and I can tap into what's always been my big passion, which is psychology, to get an understanding of people and their thinking and their behavior, and how can we in marketing kind of use it for our benefit as business owners, as coaches, to really then find the right people that we can help, and by extend and grow our business and have the life we want to have.
Mm-hmm. So how much has psychology then flavored your marketing?
Oh, absolutely. For me, marketing is all about the psychology, understanding the customer, understanding who is the person that I'm speaking to, who is the customer that I really want to be working, and not looking only at the demographics, which is what you often will get when we talk about marketing. You will get, the customer persona, or the buyer persona, the buyer avatar, that looks at, the demographical segregation of people, and looks like their gender, their age, their location, their income. But for me, always I've been more fascinated to then look at the psychological, the psychographics, the behavior, attitudes, opinions, people, who are they as human beings, what are their values, what are their purpose, and how we can really tap and connect with that in our messaging and marketing.
Yeah, and I remember us going through that process as well. And I had a question from someone which kind of popped up as you were speaking, which was around, well, why the organic side? Why not paid?
So even though I believe that both have incredible power, are super helpful, especially if you're talking to a service provider, the paid could be really high risk, because obviously not only that you're investing your time and effort, but you also have to be investing actual money. And for me, organic is a wonderful way of build longevity. It is something where you can experiment, you can take it at your own pace, you can get result immediately, but you are actually building something that will last. So once you build your presence, when you build your online brand, once you get into the habit of sharing regular content, and you've established yourself on social media, online, in the digital sphere, and something happens, then it doesn't go away immediately, and you don't need to maintaining it and keeping it up and investing into it in the same degree the whole time. It really builds this longevity. But if you use only paid, then it definitely is a lot more expensive. There needs to be a clear strategy and clear goal, which often for service providers like coaches could be quite hard to figure out how I can make my actual money, the pot for paid advertising, really work for me. Do I have an online digital product? Do I have a coaching group? Do I have something that I can strategically create advertising for? And can I really make it work so that the money keeps coming back? I say I can keep reinvesting into the ads. So for me, definitely the perspective of organic, it's kind of more sustainable. It is more manageable. I find it a lot more fun because it's all about content and conversations.
Yeah.
And I found, definitely from my experience and from my clients' experience, that it builds this longevity, that it really helps you manage a little bit of the bumps and a little bit of the highs and lows of the journey of a business owner.
I've often heard it said that you shouldn't really do paid until you know that the organic works, because you may be throwing your money down the drain on something that you're testing out. Whereas if you're testing it out in the organic world, it's a little bit easier to just test out those things, and if it goes wrong, it hasn't cost you lots of money.
Yeah, it just took a little bit of time and effort and energy to create something. You can experiment with that. And obviously, paid works the best when you already have an audience established, but you already know what content is working, what is resonating with your audience, what messages, what tone of voice, what type of content. And then once you already have a group of engaged audience, then it's where the paid comes quite powerful, because then you can tap into the lookalike audiences and target people who are similar to what you already know is working for you. But if you're starting from scratch or still figuring out who your audience is, or potentially changing your gears and shifting towards a new audience, then paid, you would have to have a big budget to really allow those platforms to crawl through lots of data, lots of profiles, to help you find the right people, which again, not only the fact that it costs a lot of money to actually pay for the result, but you still need to understand the systems. And it is hard to keep up with all the changes and all the nitty-gritty details. That's why I really find the organic the easier way to get started with digital marketing.
Fantastic. And if there's anyone who would like to ask any questions, please do let me know. Maybe put them in the chat and then I can come to you, or just say I'd like to ask a question in the chat and I can ask you to unmute, because we're here for you today more than for me. I have a whole list of things that I can ask Lenka, but I would love to open up to you and your questions. But just while people are maybe thinking of that, Lenka, what then do you mentioned about you've worked with lots of service people, and I was wondering what kind of makes coaching or marketing for coaches or service people different than kind of other industries? What makes that special and different?
So obviously for coaches or other people providing services, you are the product. You are selling yourself compared to when you have an agency, you have a physical product, you have a digital product, you're selling something else. But in services, and especially coaching, you are selling yourself, you're selling your time, and you are selling your personality, your uniqueness, your heart and soul. Where in certain services, it's not as personal, it's not as about you necessarily. Like, yes, in graphic design and web design, you add your own flavor, you add your own artistry to it, but it's not as you are so heavily involved with your client, and the client really needs to trust you. The client really needs to be able to open up to you. The client really needs to feel safe and supported and know that you are the right coach for them. There's so many different types of coaching and therapies and approaches. So really it is about you, and you're selling yourself, which is a weird concept to get your head around, that I am selling myself, I'm selling my time, I'm selling my expertise, I'm selling my energy. And yet in your marketing, it is not about you. You need to understand yourself. You need to have a clear idea who you are as a brand, as a professional. But then you need to be able to sell yourself in a way of finding the benefit, finding the transformation, finding what's in it for them, and how can you make sure that the right people will resonate with your message, that your messages will reach the right people for you to find the right match. And I find it quite interesting, challenging, but also very interesting to be working, especially with coaches and people who do this kind of work, because it is so much more about selling yourself. And yet it is so personal that you need to find a way of packaging yourself up as the product, as the thing that you sell, and yet make it personable, authentic, open, vulnerable enough for your potential clients to find their way to you, because you are selling something that is very personal.
Yeah, I can I can definitely find myself aligned with what you're saying, because it can actually feel quite difficult to admit to yourself and that you're selling yourself, and you can start to put all your worth on that if you're not careful, and it can cause you quite a lot of, well, I'm not good enough if you're not getting anywhere with things. And then equally, it can be really hard to find what is that thing that will really attract that person to me, in a way that is around what they're going to get out of it. Because we've just kind of got to a place where we can go, okay, yes, now I feel good about selling myself, but actually it's not about me, it's about the other person. And so it's really hard to find that balance.
Yeah, it is. And it's an ongoing journey, because obviously you are coming out of a program, you might be starting as a coach on your own, or you might be kind of evolving your services. And the more you push yourself out of your comfort zone and the more you go out there, you will get to a place where, like, oh, I'm comfortable now. And then something will happen. The industry will change, the platforms will change, the world will change, you will change. And then you will realize that you're not starting all over again, but that you need to continue working on yourself
Yeah.
in terms of finding the way that the marketing needs to be adjusted to really resonate all over again.
Yeah. And I know that from my side, you know, I there was a whole, I didn't come into this to be a marketer, so suddenly I'm in this world and I learned that, oh, I need to know how to market myself, and I need to know how to run a business and how to do this and all these other things that I didn't expect to do. I just thought I could turn up as a coach and be there.
That's the challenge, because obviously there used to be a saying ages ago, if you build it, they will come, which no longer it's true, because there is such a massive overwhelm of supply of all the options, and there's so much noise out there, the marketing world and the business world and the coaching world, the health and well-being world. it is getting busy, the competition is high, it's getting loud and crowded. So finding your own space in this environment and really knowing how to fit in and how to leverage what it is out there available to you, how those platforms work and how you can use them to really ultimately do the one thing that you genuinely want to be doing, which is coaching people and helping people with their lives and improving their lives. You have to jump through so many hoops through, yes, marketing, yes, finances, yes, bookkeeping, yes, admin, yes, and marketing could often feel like one of those most annoying things. Like I've noticed that marketing seemed to be like one of those dirty words lately. That I remember when I started my business 5-6 years ago, admin, finances, bookkeeping was the thing that most people were the most resilient against. They wanted to outsource first thing first, and they didn't want it to have anything to do with. And lately, I'm noticing that everyone wants to get rid of marketing. No one wants to be doing their own marketing because it's so much to deal with. It's so overwhelming. It's so confusing. It's so fast-paced, changing. It's so crowded. It can get so stressful. And it's something that people are realizing that they have to be doing, and no one kind of wants to be doing it. So that I am on a mission to really bring joy back to marketing and help people, especially again, service providers, where it is you and you're putting your heart and soul into marketing to be able to then help the people to bring joy and kind of calm and a little bit more of control and composure and enjoyment back into what marketing should be, which marketing is all about for me, talking about the things you know and love and helping others.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I have so many other questions I could delve into now, but I have noticed that one of our coaches, Nariba, who is graduated now from our course, has got her hand up. So I would love for me to stop and to allow the floor to have a few questions, and maybe I'll come back with some more questions. Nariba, please go ahead. Ask Lenka whatever you need to.
Well, it's funny actually, because you kind of answered the question. I was chuckling as you were talking just now, because I think you probably were reading my mind as you were making your last statement, which is, yes, I do want to outsource marketing, because it's incredible how much you have to delve through to kind of, deal with all the social media. And, it's like a complete jungle to really just get the message out and, find the right people and the right branding and the time it takes and, the hiccups. And if you do it wrong, then, the trolling and like, there's just so much. And it's just so easy to go, I don't want to deal with this, and can use the benefit of somebody else who's has a marketing background and has loads of experience. So why should I spend my time on this when I can give this to somebody else and do the thing that I want to do, that I have time to do or energy to do? Why be bothered? And I agree, yes, I think as well, like you're saying, as you also kind of find your own brand and you find your own voice and, that takes time. But I want to focus on that. I also don't want to have to focus on telling the world what that is. I just want to focus on finding that for me. So is there, what are your pearls of wisdom for somebody like me who has no marketing background? And I want to say, in a sense, probably no real marketing interest either, to be honest, in a sense, because it's a minefield. It really is a minefield. And I'm sure if, when you spend more time, you can get more passion in it. But to start, it just seems like,
It's a lot.
A lot.
It's more than a lot.
Yeah. So what are your pearls of wisdom for someone like me who is completely new to this, completely fresh, and looking at it and getting completely overwhelmed? where do we start? How do you take the first step?
So I will start a little bit before that to say that I'm all for outsourcing whatever you can outsource, and I'm all for outsourcing marketing. But once you know exactly what you need, and it's one of the biggest mistakes I see people make with outsourcing marketing, it's that they don't understand what they need, and which means they don't understand who they need and what kind of support they actually need to make it work for them. So there needs to be a little bit of getting familiar with the basics of marketing from my experience for you to have a vision, have a plan, understand what you're trying to achieve, and understand what the end goal looks like, having a clear sense on your brand and on your customers. So then you can give this framework, or you can give these answers to the person actually outsourcing, and you can then work with people and you can get a lot more support from others with your marketing. But I would definitely caution people to immediately want to be like, I don't want to do marketing, I'm going to outsource it. Because yes, you can find incredible VAs, you can find social media managers, and find people who for smaller or bigger amounts of money will do some sort of marketing for you. But the question is it the right kind of marketing that ultimately will make your business work and will be authentic and will be aligned and really will allow you to build the business and the life that you want? That being said, I would say the pearls of wisdom to start with for anyone who hates marketing, doesn't have any interest in marketing, and doesn't want to deal with marketing is ignore all the shoulds. And I know it's ironic that I deliver training to tell you you should be doing that and you should be doing that. And I will put a big disclaimer: ignore all the shoulds out there, because there will be people putting their own agendas. They will be, you should be doing paid, you should be doing email, you should be doing video, you should have a podcast, you have to post every day, you have to do live video. No, just no. Like, none of the shoulds matter. The best marketing is the marketing that comes from within. That's the marketing that you can think for yourself. What makes you unique? What makes you tick? What you do enjoy doing? Because there's so many options out there for marketing, for being creative, for creating content. And it can be video, it can be podcast, it can be visual, but you can really go obscure and you can start thinking about what it is about you and what are your strengths and what you can really see yourself doing and shining through as yourself. One of my all-time favorite examples is one of my colleagues and clients who she hates marketing, but she has an account for her dog. And she loves talking on her account on Instagram for her dog to connect with her dog buddies. And she has a completely different persona for the dog, and she talks in dog language, and she resonates with lots of other dog people. She has a big following there. And she works in an area that promotes natural cosmetics and natural products that actually could be used on dogs as well on humans. And we invented a plan for her to actually use her dog's voice as a mascot to then promote her business. So right now, instead of her trying to build her brand and her persona and talk as herself, we just embrace the weirdness of her talking as her dog. And she loves it because she loves talking as her dog. And it resonates with the people because they say, oh, that's cute, a dog. So there could be so many different ways. Like, do you like knitting? Well, we can come up with an idea of how your hobby of knitting could be used for marketing. Do you love doodling and creating and just drawing things? Well, you can come up with the ways of using that. Are you good with video? Do you enjoy taking videos and talking to camera? Well, use that for your marketing. But find a way that really what it is that you enjoy doing, what comes natural to you, where you can be at ease and really find yourself, rather than following all the advice out there that tells you you have to do this, or if you don't do this, you're not going to succeed, and these are the rules. My belief is that anything and everything can work, that there isn't one rule, there isn't one principle that works for everyone. That the more you embrace yourself, the more you embrace what comes natural to you, your strength and your uniqueness, the better it will actually resonate with the people out there, and you will find the right people for you, the right clients. It's part of the marketing, especially part of the challenge of outsourcing marketing. It's coming across as you and coming across with the mission and vision and purpose and tone of voice and personality that attracts the clients you really want to work with. And only you can help in your own unique way, rather than being just one of the many coaches out there that kind of want to work with just kind of anyone. Because if you're not specific, then you're not gonna talk to anyone specific. So that would be my advice, is look within, search for the answers within, rather than searching for the answers outward and waiting for any guru, any expert, any online course, any webinar, any other further advice telling you what you should be doing, and rather listen to yourself and say, well, this actually feels good to me. This is what I'm going to do.
Thanks. That's been really helpful.
Yeah, and one of the things that I oh, sorry, I've done something to myself. There we go. One of the things that I had down on my list was, people were saying to me, you know, do I need to be posting every day? What platform should I post on? What should I actually be doing? You know, what should I be doing every day with my social media? And you know, how do I stop myself from becoming overloaded with the amount of information that's out there about marketing? And because I know I've had people say, oh, I've got this, you know, you need to do high ticket. No, you don't. You need to do one to many. No, you can do it with no audience. Oh no, you need to build your audience first, and then you can sell to them. You need to do a membership. You need to do a course.
Yep.
And there's so many different pieces of advice out there about it. It can be really tough to know which way to go as well, I think. And so it stops you actually moving forward at all. And I know that I have been stuck at times with our marketing because there's been so much information.
The choice overwhelm is real. The analysis paralysis is real. The new shiny syndrome thing, it's real. So it's hard. It's hard to focus. So I would say it always comes down to knowing who your audience is. So knowing who the people that you want to work with, who they are. Are you more in a business to business? So are you want to work with other business owners, with people who are professionals? Or do you want to work with individuals? Are the individuals parents? Are there women? Are there any kind of a subgroup? So understanding a little bit who are the people you want to work with and what are their preferences. So again, what are their beliefs and opinions and preferences, and where they are likely to be hanging out online. But then also looking within and understanding what are your strengths, and which out of all these options that you have been general awareness of what's out there. Any human being, any business owner will kind of know that you have a couple of social media platforms, you have this thing called email and podcasting. You kind of have the sense of what is possible, and it's enough. You don't need to know more. You don't need to research more options. You don't need to be looking for any other options. What you know right now, it's out there, it's enough. What you then need to do is really think about, well, what would work for me? Am I a visual person? So would I enjoy Instagram? Or am I more of a word person, like typing person, where poems and written word works for me? Well, maybe LinkedIn could be the right for me. Or do I really want to build more on the one-to-one closer relationships? And maybe I want to focus on building a newsletter, an email community. Or is it that I just enjoy conversations and talking? So maybe podcast could be the right place for me. And find one core type of content. So be it text, be it visual, be it doodles, be it video, be it podcast. Think of one core type of content that is very natural to you. And I've been pushing myself for years to do video, because video is the thing, everyone does video. And I hate doing video, the pre-recorded videos and then editing myself, I hate it. And then I realized, like, why am I trying to do that when I've always been a writer? I've always enjoyed a language in a written form. And then I decided like embrace that, go full on the written word, and it still works on platforms. And certain platforms will be more designed for it, like for written word. Yes, emails and LinkedIn will be super helpful. But even on Instagram, you can use written word, and you can use graphics and stories and stuff like that. You can use the written word over the video. So think about your audience, what will resonate with them, and how can you really provide value to them? And think about what would work for you in terms of what pillar type of content, what format, what style, and which one place. Like when I mean one place, I genuinely mean one place. I mean, pick one thing, be it email, be it podcast, be it LinkedIn, be it Instagram, whatever, but pick only one thing. Because only once you've selected and committed to one thing, you can then go deep and understand how this one thing really works. Because there's so many the nitty-gritty technical details of, yes, what is the best time to post? What is the best ideal frequency? What is the ideal length? What is the ideal focus? And all these, and it's impossible to answer it for all the platforms out there. It's impossible even for me to keep up with all the changes. So pick the one thing, the really one place for you, and then go and explore and understand the strategies that potentially work there, understand the functionalities and features that you have available there, understand the audience that already is on there and how you can resonate with them.
Absolutely. So what I'm hearing is don't spread yourself thin over every single and try and get to know every single one, but choose the one that really resonates with you and just go full in on that and learn how to use that. And get comfortable with it. And that, how less overwhelming would that be if you just focus on just the one place? Yeah.
Exactly. It's not about all the hoops that you need to jump through, all the platforms that you think like you should be on. Really, marketing ultimately, it's find the one place you enjoy being, and the place where you see the potential of people being there. And the thing is that these days, especially if we're talking about coaches, and you potentially, unless you have a massive digital product or an online course and you're trying to get a massive audience, if we're talking more about a one-to-one or small group coaching type of services, you don't need hundreds and thousands and millions of customers. You need a handful of the right customers. Yes, once you go through the digital route, you have an online course, you have a digital product, you have something more of a passive income. Then we're talking more of this product kind of a marketing, and that could be different. But as long as we're talking coaching in the core of one-to-one coaching, group coaching, stuff like this, you need only a handful of the right people, which means you are going quality over quantity, and you really need to find a place where you will resonate with those kind of people.
Yeah. So, and how important then is it, because you've mentioned getting to know your ideal client, how important is it that we niche? Because that word comes up a lot in talking about marketing, and there's a lot of pressure, I feel, on coaches to niche down, and I agree that there's a certain amount of niching perhaps needed, but what do you think about kind of coaching and niching down? What does it give? What are the benefits? What perhaps doesn't work?
So I would say niching is an interesting concept, and yes, you will hear a lot like you need to find your niche, and there is something to it in the sense that, as I said, if you speak to everyone, you will resonate with no one. But I don't like looking at niching in the sense of I only want to be known as a wellness coach, and I only want to work with moms of this age and in this location and with this one type of problem. And maybe that is what really you want to be doing. Like maybe you want to be the go-to expert on imposter syndrome, or you want to be the go-to expert on, I don't know, anxiety and going deep into the specifics. But also maybe you really want to work with a type of a person with you're sharing a purpose, you're sharing a value, you're sharing a world view. and they might be of different genders, of different colors, of different ages, but there is something that is similar, and there is something that really brings you together. And it often will be the values, it often will be the transformation that you provide, the journey that you take people on. So ultimately, I would think of niching not necessarily a finding, this is my industry or this is my area, but think about the people that you could become favorite. Like, what would make you a favorite of a certain group of people? And it could be, it is your journey, it is your story, it is your uniqueness, it is your art, it is something about you. You do want to be quite specific in your messaging, because if you then use examples, and we now obviously know that representation matters, so people can then see themselves in your messaging and they can resonate and understand. But it doesn't need to mean that you only will say, my niche is life coaching for 15-year-old kids who struggle with, I don't know, anorexia, and maybe that's what exactly you want to be doing.
Yeah.
Or maybe you don't want to be putting yourself into such a tiny little box, but you need to find something. How do you define how and why you and only you can resonate with certain group of people, and what would make you to be their favorite, which obviously then would make them your favorite too.
Fantastic. And I see Nariba has written, I really love the example of embracing your uniqueness, weirdness, to figure out what works for me. I assume, Nariba, you've had your question answered. And Trixie has also said, my takeaway is that we should cultivate what feels natural. And I know, Trixie, you had your hand up a couple of times, but you've also told me that you've maybe had it answered. But would you like to just speak to us, and maybe there's something that came up for you that you could speak to?
Okay.
Yeah.
So the question that I was at the back of my mind was about practicing only on one platform, or concentrating on one platform first, and being good at it, not perfecting it, but just being good at it. And then the second one was the frequency of the posting and how does that affect. And then in terms of the frequency of the posting, that correlates into the exclusivity maybe, or the concentration of the content. So yeah, those are the things that I wanted to ask, but you've already answered all of those during the conversation. That's why I relate so much with Nariba.
Yeah, I think that definitely the point of finding one platform and focusing on one platform then means that you really get to know the ins and outs of how it works. Like, Instagram is so different from Twitter and so different from LinkedIn. And on Instagram, we have so many different features and functionalities, from the stories and reels and live video and guides, that if you really want to leverage the platform properly, you need to understand how these specific things work. The same on LinkedIn, you now have the option to go live, and you have the option to have a newsletter, and you can create events, and you will be utilizing different platforms in different ways. And really, to get the most out of your time investment into marketing and into social media, you need to be able to understand a lot of those details that then are the ones that do make the big difference. In terms of the posting frequency, I would always say, figure out what works for you. Find consistent frequency that you can maintain easily, day in, day out, I mean week, month in, that it's something that you can on a regular basis provide high quality content. It still gives you the time to engage around your content and comment and share and find other people. So if that means posting once a week, then once a week posting frequency is actually really good, because it's not about putting more and more and more out there, and hopefully more businesses are realizing that. It's about putting only the best, most relevant, most helpful, most interesting, most inspiring content out there that then will attract the right people. And if consistency means posting once a week, or sending an email every fortnight, or releasing a new podcast, a video episode every month, then that is enough to start with until you feel like you got your foot in, you've figured out what works for you, you explored, and maybe then over time you can slowly increase to posting 2 times a week. Or if it's Instagram, then maybe, posting in a grid once a week and doing a couple stories. Or if it's on LinkedIn, then doing a big post, like something longer form, and then having a poll or playing around with different types of content on the platform. But if you post once a week on pretty much any platform, that's good enough to start with.
Trixie, does that answer your question? Do you have any follow-up questions to that?
Oh, I have another question. Do you recommend any readings, books, or whatever that could help us in the future, like resources that you can cite for organic marketing?
Wow, there's so many of them. I don't think there is one source that would give you all of it. It really much depends on what exactly you think that you believe you need and where you're heading. So I definitely love Mark Schaefer. He's an American expert marketer. He wrote many books and I absolutely loved all of them. He ages ago published a book Known, which helps you to become established and known as a personal brand. It's a beautiful book. He recently published a book called Marketing Rebellion, which talks a lot about how customers are changing and how the core value right now of us as businesses dealing with customer needs to be loyalty and shared values. It's a great marketing book. And he also published a new book called Cumulative Advantage that kind of looks a little bit beyond what we talked about today in terms of focusing on one place, because it talks about obviously how can you accumulate a more of the advantage from different points. So I would say he could be one of the great points of like slowly building up your kind of overall marketing expertise, and he is definitely one of my favorite marketing experts out there.
Okay, thank you.
I've got that written down.
Googling it now.
yeah. So Mohammed is saying, I'm really glad to be part of this session. It's a real eye-opener for our strategy going forward. So that's great to hear, Mohammed. I know that you're driving today, I believe. So do you have any questions? And if so, would you like to unmute? Or because if you're driving, I don't want you to have
Sarah.
an accident.
No, I'm not driving. As I told you, I'm traveling. I'm actually in the airport now. Yeah.
Okay.
So working on my check-in, but I'm really glad that I attended this session. Considering that I have something else to do, but this really was a very useful session to attend. Thank you, Lenka, for giving us this eye-opener. I would say, being a new coach does not give me the courage, I would say, to market my content and to go to the audience. And I know that they may not be accepting that early, but so now I think that I do have a plan, inshallah. As you said, maybe maintain the frequency and maintain the quality of the comments. Or the content I should provide to the community or to the niche, I would say, who I'm targeting, would really help me. Thank you for giving me this eye opener, and thank you, Sarah, for arranging this.
Oh, you're very welcome, Mohammed.
Yeah, I think it's, especially as I said, when you're starting and you're a fresh coach, maybe the confidence in you immediately teaching and sharing and getting across your expertise might take a while to develop. So I would say social media is wonderful in a way that you can just share your journey. You can tell people what you've learned, obviously, along this journey of becoming a coach. What were your key takeaways? What you, as a student, so coming to it not necessarily as I'm an expert teaching you and telling you what you need to be doing, but I'm coming as someone who has recently learned something that was helpful to me, was interesting to me, and might help you as well. And share your journey, share your lessons, share your light bulb moments, share the process. I think social media for me is beautiful in a way that it's the word social, that it allows you to just be conversational, to tell people and have conversation with people about the topics that you're interested in, that you are passionate about. And I would say, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Like, yes, there could be then people, commenting and potential trolls, but that's just a small part of the whole experience. Don't be afraid just to post something and see how it works and see what works and what doesn't work and experiment. And if anyone ever needs help with dealing with trolls and stuff, just let me know. I can give you a full on, how to deal with trolls kind of a speech. But I would say just, yes, be prepared that there might be some, pushback, there might be some people questioning, but ultimately see it as a conversation. I respect your opinion. I hope that you will respect mine. And if you don't respect, well, that's you kind of problem, not me kind of problem. And on social media, people often see that. People see when you put something out there that the other people, if they're unreasonable, you will then find that a lot more people will come to your rescue and they will be on your side. So actually, I wouldn't be too worried about like all the negative impacts that social media can have, because there are a lot more good people out there than there are bad people.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. And so I'm wondering, one of the things that popped up for me is there's a number of students on, we've got a mixture of students, coaches who have been coaching for quite some time. Would you recommend then that people start that marketing journey while they're still a student and start getting out there while they're in that place and just speaking to their audience, so that they kind of got a bit of a run up, I guess, to marketing?
I would say start as soon as you can. The earlier, the better, because especially we talked about organic, it takes a while to get established, it takes time to get familiar. And yeah, it allows you to just take people on the journey with you, to share your takeaways and to start figuring out who is the audience I want to work with, what resonates, what kind of content works with them, how these things in terms of commenting and features, how it works, and really allows you to then hone your craft of talking about the expertise. And one of the things I absolutely love is the pyramid of learning that actually says that the way we actually learn the best is by teaching others. And for me, social media, in a way, is just a platform, a way of teaching others. So I can have conversations with people, and kind of having conversations is another really good way of learning. And I can then teach others what I've learned, which then not only allows you to establish your brand and establish yourself, but then it helps with your own learning as well.
Absolutely. And just so all of our students know, we're happy for you to share what you've been learning with us.
I think Mariam has a question.
Yes, I was just going to say thank you, Trixie. Mariam, would you like to unmute and speak to us, or I'm happy to read it out if you're unable to. Okay, she hasn't unmuted, so I'm going to take that as a sign that she would like me to read it out. But Mariam, if you do want to unmute yourself, oh, okay, she's putting the baby to sleep, so we'll so then she has a question, and it's actually in regards specifically to Instagram, although it might cross other platforms. Would you recommend combining personal stories with coaching marketing? Thoughts for others to see you as a common human that they can relate with? Or would you recommend separating personal versus professional accounts?
So I would say find a balance, find a happy medium that works for you, especially for coaches and people who work with people on the personal level. Then yes, you need to show up yourself as a human. You can't be hiding behind a logo. You can't be pretending you're this corporation, you're this entity that is impersonal. You need to show up as yourself. But the yourself is then up to you to define how much of the you, the personal, the you as a human being, rather than you as a professional. It is up to you to decide how much you're going to show up. I had one coach once sharing an incredible example. It's Imagine that you're inviting guests to your house. It's up to you to see how far into your house you're going to take them. Some people, in some occasions, will only be allowed to come to your doorstep. And maybe you will sit with them and talk with them and share what you feel comfortable sharing on the front porch. Some people, then you can decide to allow them to come to the kitchen and to the living room and spend some time with you there. Some people then allow you, and you will allow them to take them to the office and to have a space there. But pretty much no one will ever go into your bedroom. No one will ever go to your kid's bedroom. No one has to go to your back garden. That's your private space. And the same goes to marketing. So yes, you need to, and that's why we talk about personal branding, because yes, the brand is based on you. It is based on your values. It is based on your personality, on your expertise, on your drive, on your mission, on your vision, on your tone of voice, on anything that you are. But that doesn't mean that you have to share your deepest inner thoughts. You have to share information about your relationships, about your family, about your own struggles. You can, and I know people, and I've been fairly open on my own journey with the things, because I also think that social media is a great place to show not only the good things, but to show the things that not only are the best, to make social media less of a highlight reel, to make it more real. But the level of realness, it's up to you. You don't need to talk to people about anything that you don't feel like talking about. And yes, I know coaches, and there is a couple of wonderful people who genuinely take their own therapy journey and use it in their marketing and talk about all the deep stuff, because for them it's a way of therapy. Journaling and sharing it out there is a way for them, and they feel comfortable, but they only do it because they are comfortable, because they already processed it, and because they feel strong enough that they can handle whatever reaction it's going to bring. But for you, it's up to you to decide where this line is, to allow people, yes, to see you as a human being with, your interests and your personality and your flavors and your flair and your fun sides and your inspiring side. But yet you don't need to take people to your bedroom or to your therapy sessions with you. You can decide what is okay, and you can slowly evolve and develop to find that happy medium, that happy balance that works for you individually.
So, I mean, the answer is, I guess, it depends.
It's always the answer. Yeah, if you will ask me anything, the only one answer I can guarantee will always be applicable. It depends.
and I know that I have 2 Instagrams, and because one I have pictures of my daughter on, and I'm, the friends that are on there are a lot less, and they're a lot closer to me personally than I also have a business one. And some of those, there's a mixed group on there. So some of the business people who I'm quite close to are on the personal one, and some of the friends are also on my business account. And sometimes I'm not a massive poster on Instagram, so but that's the way I've done it, because I feel quite strongly about not putting lots of photos of my daughter out to the public. The other one for me is a more public place. So
And
that's
you can still share your own journey. You can still share your own family takeaways, and you can share stories without immediately showing your face of your loved ones. So you can still, I have a client, and she often tells a story of her son, but she says it in a written form. She will never show pictures of him. And she will only bring older stories that, are maybe a couple of years old, and they've all, whatever happened, processed, but she will not bring whatever right now in the moment they might be dealing with. Or if she brings it, she will bring it in a more generalized kind of taking the lesson out of it, rather than going into specifics to, my son or I am or my family is struggling with XYZ, we're dealing with that. Like, no, you can tell the story without pointing to yourself and your family. You can still share the lesson and the takeaway from that, and that will allow you then to connect with people as well.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Christiana is quite keen to ask a question, and she is, and I think it's about TikTok. Christiana, did you want me to say it, or would you like to speak? Because I know I've heard my voice so much asking lots of questions. I'd love to give you a chance if you would like it. And Mariam's saying thank you, by the way. Christiana?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, yes.
Okay, so first of all, apologies for being tremendously late, but I was driving and I got lost. And you know, Dubai, if you don't find a way back, then you can find yourself in another city. So apologies about that. I don't know if you covered this already, Lenka, but I would like to ask you about TikTok, because I've heard from people very close to me who have a business, different businesses. It could be a doctor, it can be a teacher, it can be somebody having their own private training company. And they're saying that lately they've seen TikTok really working well for them. So now they're increasing the minutes of videos that you can post. So it's from 15 seconds, up to 3 minutes, depending on the content and everything. And they get the number of likes that they get compared to just a post on Instagram or whatever is significantly bigger. And that has turned sometimes their business around. So I wanted to ask you about TikTok and what you think about using it for coaching, basically.
TikTok is a very interesting platform, and you were right. There is an incredible opportunity for people to leverage the amount of attention, the amount of time spent, the amount of minutes and active users that are on TikTok. The actually highly engaged and easily activated community, the people on TikTok, the community, are very buying into the community, very engaged, commenting, liking, supporting their creators. They are very much involved. But also, nothing is just easy and pink and perfect. TikTok has obviously its darker sides, and there could be a lot of negativity. It could be lots of comments. The TikTok guidelines and the way how they treat creators could be questionable at times. The accounts do get taken down, the videos do get blocked for many reasons, unexpectedly. So I would say, we talked about it earlier, if you believe that TikTok and the type of content that TikTok is designed for, which is video content, highly engaging, fast-paced, even educational content. But TikTok, if you do educational content, it still needs to be very thought through to get that kind of engagement, to really build a community that will work for you. The content cannot be basic. The content needs to be thought through. And I see coaches and therapists and doctors do incredible, but they put strongly their personality forward. They do have great public speaking video presence. They do get there's lots of sketch comedy, there's lots of kind of the fun yet educational content in there. So TikTok could be an incredible opportunity, but I would caution anyone on the amount of time and effort investment, that it is very, very time demanding to really get going. And it is still kind of early days platform, and the community guidelines and the principles and the rules of TikTok and the way they treat accounts could be questionable at times. So as I said, it depends.
Okay, but thank you very much.
So double-sided there.
Everything is kind of, whenever there is a great opportunity, there are great risks.
Yes.
Whenever there is a huge opportunity for massive growth, for incredible results, for fast-paced growth, there is the demand to do exceptionally good job and to stand out from the crowd.
Okay. Thank you very much, Lenka.
Okay.
I hope that helps, Christiana.
It does. Thank you so much.
So then I was just wondering, as you were speaking, I think you've answered this in many respects, but if you could kind of give a top 2 or 3 tips for how we stand out in a really saturated market as coaches, what would be your kind of go-tos in kind of, 1, 2, 3, this is what you need to focus on?
Focus on you. What makes you unique? Obviously, everyone is unique and we all have our own journeys and we have all our strengths, and really lean into your strengths. And yes, do lean into your weirdness. Do lean into what it's so unique about you that no one else has, the combination of skills, combination of experiences, combination of personality. Don't be afraid to embrace your uniqueness. Don't be afraid to embrace your weirdness and play into your strengths, but also specific onto who would be the people you want to work with. So we talked about the niching, but then again, play with the uniqueness of the client, the uniqueness of their needs and problems and challenges and personalities and opinions, and find what is the perfect match for the both of you.
Fantastic. So focus on them, focus on you, focus on what the match is, basically.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Thank you. And that got a love heart from someone. I know that Sue has joined us, and I know that she had a couple of questions. Sue, and I know that you couldn't make it until now. Did you have anything to ask?
Yes, thank you. And my apologies, Lenka, I'd already got a pre-booked appointment. I wasn't sure how long it would take. So I had a very similar question, I think, to the one that Sarah's just posed. But before that, just a question going back to TikTok. It's not something that I get involved in at the moment. But what am I right in thinking that the user profile on TikTok is probably younger, for example? So whether it's a good platform for you as a coach might depend on where you are niching and who your target market is. And that would answer more about whether it was a useful platform or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Different platforms will have slightly different user bases, and TikTok so far it's probably the youngest one. But as with every other platform, the longer it is out there, the broader the audience gets. Especially the pandemic has really brought kind of the mid-age group onto TikTok. And also, again, depending on who your niche audience is, and what size of audience you really need to attract to make your business work, because someone needs 5 clients a year, someone needs 15 clients a year, someone needs 50, someone needs 500 and 5,000. And that also depends on then if you only need a handful of the right kind of clients and you can find them on the platform because it will be highly specific, then it could be also the right platform.
Okay.
But yes, TikTok is probably the youngest one, followed up by, I would say, Instagram. LinkedIn is a little bit more focusing on the professionals and older generation. The same with Facebook goes more towards the older audiences.
Okay, thank you. And my actual question was, and again, you've alluded to this time-wise, but assuming that you have a limited budget and also some limited time to start marketing, what would you suggest would be the top 3 priority marketing activities to focus on first?
So we talked about it earlier, is to focus on one place, not 2, not 3, focus on one place, and the place that really, really, really resonates with you and plays into your strengths and where your audience is. Ultimately, marketing has two sides. It has the content side and is the engagement side. If you are super stretched on time and you cannot do anything, engagement is wonderful, where you can just comment and build relationship and keep showing up and nourish relationships. But then if you really want to leverage marketing properly, then creating high quality, relevant, meaningful, helpful content, it's the step that will take you further and will help you establish as the expert. What type of content, what structure of content, what frequency of content, that depends on your resources. We talked about that if you can post on social media once a week, that's plenty. If you can create a new video, podcast, blog, whatever it is that you want to do once a month to start with, that's plenty. Quality over quantity. Do one thing really, really well. Focus on what is essential, what you have to be doing rather than what you think you should be doing, and really invest then more of the time into the engagement and learning more about the audience and engaging more with the audience, because that's what often is missing. The businesses focus too much on the push, on shoving their message out there, which is wonderful. If you have a great message, if you have great content, absolutely do share it. But then don't forget to invest into the comments, reaching out to people, searching for people, listening to people, asking questions, answering questions, sending direct messages, and just genuinely building the audience and building the connections with people.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Anyone else have any other questions? I know there's a couple of people here. Nothing at the moment. So much gold and questions answered for me before I've even managed to think of them. So there we go. That's Nicola. Thank you, Nicola. And I would agree. There's been a lot of gold here. You talked for me. There's just kind of a piece there that you talked about earlier, which was about how we do the things that bring us joy. And you know, I would say that's kind of what my philosophy in life is, to do the things that bring me joy. But you know, kind of bringing that into the marketing sphere, how do we make sure that we're doing that? Because I know that there's been times when, as you've said earlier, you kind of jump on that bandwagon. Oh, I need to post, I need to spend an hour on social media every day, and I need to do this and that and the next. So how can we make sure that we keep bringing joy into what we're doing?
For me, it always comes back to my purpose, understanding what my purpose is. And for you as a coach, the purpose is to help people with something, because you are passionate about the area and the approach to coaching that you have. This part of the journey, this part of personal development, career development, health and wellness development, you are passionate about something and you want to help other people live better lives. That's usually the deal that lots of coaches drive them to become a coach. And for me, marketing then is just telling people what I know, like sharing my expertise and sharing my passion. So really talking about the things I love talking about, because that's what I know and it's what I'm passionate about, and that's what then helps them. And if I can put my own spin on it, and if I can find a way. So for me, I love hiking and I love nature, so I'll always bring in a nature metaphor. I will always find a way of how I can think about marketing or about what I do in a way of bringing nature in, so I can then share some of my photos from my hikes as a good excuse. I will do that because it makes me happy. So even though, yes, then if we would go more into content planning and start building a content plan and building with a structure, and you can have a look at how it should look like and what kind of content you should be putting out there. And it's helpful once you get into the kind of a nitty-gritty, once you are on the treadmill running. But ultimately, just tell people what you love, what you know, and what you know can help them, because that will resonate. And that usually we love talking about stuff we enjoy, we do. Just tell people that.
Great, fantastic, thank you. I know Amna has a question, so I don't know what it is, but please unmute yourself, Amna, ask away.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Lenka, for the session. I have two questions, if you don't mind. The first one is, from your experience, what are the things we should avoid when it comes to presenting ourselves in social media? And the other one is, what skills do you recommend us to develop or gain that will help us in marketing ourselves as coaches?
Okay, so in terms of what I would avoid is trying to replicate what someone else is already doing, trying to look too much outside what other coaches are doing, and trying to do that, trying to be like, oh, he's doing a cool thing, I will try to do that. Oh, she did something interesting, I will try to do that. Because that if you only follow what other people are doing, you will always come short, because you really rarely can do it exactly as they did it because it worked for them. It doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So that's why I always say, do look within and find your own uniqueness and do you unapologetically, just be whatever you are and say whatever way you would want to say it. Because if you just follow someone and try to replicate what they have been doing, what's working for them, you will ultimately be comparing yourself to others, which then often leads to the downside of feeling not good enough, because feeling the comparison, because lots of people are doing lots of wonderful things, and that can make us feel all sorts of ways because we don't feel that we can ever be that, or that we're not doing enough, that we're not creative enough. So just find your own kind of a beat and just, drum and follow your own path. That would be my advice. And what would be the second question? Could you please remind me?
What skills do you recommend us to gain or develop, which will help us in marketing?
So I would say, again, it depends on what your preferences are, and the skills often will be around the content. So it either will be, if written word is the one, then practice writing, journal, get on writing course, find different ways of improving your written form. If it's video, then obviously do more video, explore with different styles and different editing and different technologies and different ways. If you're more visual, and then maybe graphic design, photography, doodling, anything, then hone that one craft, because that will then definitely come across so much better in terms of when you present your content online. And on top of that, learn how to communicate with people in terms of, again, the engagement, to listen, to search for people asking questions, to find ways to connect with people, and make sure that you are part of conversation. So kind of learning the whole online networking, the online connectivity, building relationship, that kind of skill of really building the connection with people.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
And we're kind of coming towards the end of our time here, but you mentioned about building relationships there. And by the way, if anyone else wants to ask a question, please do let us know. But what are some of the best ways to build those relationships? Because there's posting and things like that, but there are other ways, of course, to build relationships.
Yeah, so obviously you have different ways of building relationships online. One is when you publish content and people kind of comment on your content, and you kind of comment back and forth, and you have conversations. Or from there, when you take it into direct messages, and then you further the conversation deeper in private, or potentially create group chats with the people that resonated most. So that's kind of the on your profile engagement, when you create content and you attract people to come to you, and they share something that you want to then follow up with meaningful conversations in the comments. So whenever someone comments, you want to comment back and ideally ask a follow-up question and bring someone else into it and really keep it going the way you would in a genuine conversation. Because the biggest mistake I see people do with social media kind of engagement and comments is when you put content out there, someone sees it, it resonates with them, and they comment on it. They say like, oh, this really resonates with me, or I like that, or this was an interesting kind of a concept, or thank you for sharing that. That we often end up kind of just killing the conversation by like fire or an emoji or like, oh, thanks. In real life, you wouldn't do that. If you overhear someone would say, you know, hey Lenka, thank you so much for the talk, I wouldn't be like, I'm like, oh, thank you. What did you enjoy the most? Like, what was the most helpful? Is there something missing? What would you add? You would keep the conversation going. I would be like, and how about you, Sarah? Like, what do you think? So that's how you can start bringing people into the conversations. You can start kind of giving them the love back, and you can keep having meaningful conversations around your content. And obviously beyond just commenting and beyond connecting people through the content and commenting on the content, you can then look for groups of people, be it Facebook groups, be it LinkedIn groups, where it's more just about the engagement. It's just about the conversation, just supporting each other and being part of each other's lives and kind of building that network, like really the traditional kind of a networking approach where you just meet people. I would highly recommend whenever you go to any online networking and or even in-person networking, but I found it the most challenging with online networking. It's not to have a clear agenda, not to be too restrictive in the way of how you treat the other person. Because online networking often can feel like, oh, I need to get the most out of it. I need to really know the ins and outs of this person. And then it becomes just as a checklist, like who you are, what you do, who you work with, who you, this and this. And we're putting so much emphasis on the professional, on the business, and we are putting the actual human being aside. So when it comes to online networking or any kind of connecting with people online, just really look for the humanness in them, on the individuality, on their authenticity, on their vulnerability, on who they are as a person and how you can connect with this one individual person rather than seeing them as just a number. Because social media can often be a numbers game. It can often feel that we need more numbers, we need more likes, we need more comments, we need more shares, we need more of everything. And we kind of make individuals replaceable and kind of just a number. So cherish and celebrate and really pour your heart into every comment you get, into every direct message you get, into every engagement, you know, every like that you receive, because that still means something. And we really should be celebrating every little engagement, every little interaction we get, because there is a real human being in most cases. Maybe Instagram is a little annoying with the bots and stuff like that, but in most cases, there is a genuine human being who took the time and effort, especially if they comment or send a direct message that requires so much, not just double tap move on, that requires them to pause, think, and invest a bit of time into interacting with us.
Absolutely. I love that. Because it should feel like a normal chat and getting to know someone. And actually, there was a question earlier, as you know, about, you know, should I put the personal into, and actually it's all personal because we're all people, we're all individuals, and we all have things to learn about one another. And so if we treat it like that, then we come across as more human ourselves, and people don't feel like we're just treating them as I want a piece of business from you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would always say, no matter if you as a coach work with businesses, if you work with business owners, entrepreneurs, professionals, ultimately we're still all human beings. So it's always human to human, unless we're talking about some stock market and some artificial intelligence and that kind of world, which I don't think anyone else of us is there. We are in a business of working with people. So I am a human being and you're a human being, and that's how the conversations should be. That's how we should treat social media. We should treat marketing. We should treat communication. We're talking to other human beings, and we should appreciate and respect and cherish their individuality and the fact that every single one of them is someone who supports us in tiny little ways. So I'm never a big fan of chasing, having millions of followers and having hundreds of likes. And all I want is a few people who genuinely will think that what I did is helpful. And if you every now and then get a handful of people like that, your business will thrive.
Yeah. One of the things that stood out for me earlier that you said is, we're not looking for hundreds of people necessarily. How many clients do you actually need to get out of this? And actually, it may be relatively few. So if you're just out there being yourself, then you can just attract those few clients that you need. Then there's plenty left in the world for everyone else as well. So it doesn't need to be a competition. It doesn't need to be, oh, I need to compare myself to this other person, or I need to get 100 likes on every single post. So yeah, it's really
I totally believe in the abundance of there is space for everyone, and this market is nowhere near saturated just yet. And the need for that kind of support through, be it professional coaching, be it personal development coaching, be it health, finances, there's so many aspects that we do generally need the human touch, the human interaction, having someone to have conversations with, having someone to guide us. So I do believe that there is space for anyone. And yeah, especially if we're talking about one-to-one work, you don't need that many people. You need the right kind of people. Even in group setting, if you do group coaching, you need just a few really well-fitting people who want to pay whatever you want to charge. And I had a question earlier from someone about the different conversations. It was like, how much should I be charging myself? It's always an interesting question. Yeah. And I really try to make the case that you can charge whatever you want. That imagine whichever number you feel like this would be pretty awesome to be charging this for an hour, a session, a package. There always will be someone who is willing to pay that. There is plenty of resources out there. There's plenty of money. There is abundance of clients and opportunities. It's just for finding the right fit, your skill set, your purpose, and the right audience with the right budget. And anything is possible.
Love it. Thank you. Oh, we have a last minute question from Nicola. Nicola, do you want to unmute and speak out your question? If you can.
Sorry, I didn't want to let me unmute there. Thank you. So firstly, I have just popped to the chat, but thank you both. This discussion is it's just been so incredible and so applicable to all of us because we can do it our way. And so thank you. It's just been really, really valuable. So very much appreciated. So my question, really just a quick one sneaking in before the end, was around adding, say, connections on LinkedIn or friends on Facebook, whichever platform people are on. I just wondered, Lenka, if you had any thoughts around that as a marketing strategy with, your wealth of experience, if there's anything you can share with us. Thank you.
So again, I would say it is personal and it depends. It's up to what are you actually trying to achieve with that and how selective you feel like you should be. Because yes, we will get lots of spam requests. There will be lots of people trying to mine our connection, trying to go through the extending their network. So I'm always up for quality over quantity, because I do want to take my time to then research the person, check out their profile, have a look at their content, question whether or not we would be the right fit, and follow up. Like if I'm connecting with someone, I genuinely want to be connecting with them. I want to know who they are, what they do. I want to have the time to send them a personalized message. Lots of platforms now allow to send voice notes. So I want to be able to then send them a voice note and be like, hey, I saw this post that you did. It's pretty cool. It resonated with me. I actually watched it. because that's how you actually do get clients. You don't get clients from connecting with hundreds and thousands of people who kind of don't care about you, who don't know you, where you're just, again, just a number. You want to be selective, and you want to then build a handful or couple of good, meaningful relationships. That takes time and effort. So yeah, that would be my advice. Like, yes, if you want to boost the numbers and you want to have some sort of number, because unfortunately, yeah, numbers matter to a point. Like, people will look at someone who has 50 connections differently than someone who has 500 connections to someone who has 5,000 connections. But ultimately, you can reach unlimited amount of people if you have good quality content. You don't need to have X amount of followers to reach the people. There are tools like hashtags, there are tools like people commenting, there are tools like direct messages that allow your content to be exposed to new people without you having any followers or any connections. So for that reason, you don't need more connections. If you're hoping that a connection of a connection will become a client, then I think it's just a kind of a hope that someone who is a connection of someone who will potentially see someone commenting on something, there is a very low chance of them being warm lead enough for you to be able to convert them, especially if we're again talking more one-to-one group coaching settings. If we're then talking product, there is a better chance of converting someone from a cold lead, from a random comment, onto getting onto a mailing list or getting conversions on a low end of a cost. But if you're talking with someone working with us one-to-one, working on our programs with us, then we do need to know the person, and the person needs to know us and trust us. That we're really being selective with the connections and nourishing them through conversations, through direct messages, through voice notes, through then being proactive and looking at their content and commenting. It's strategy I would recommend that works for me and that I find also the more enjoyable.
Nicola, has that helped?
That's amazing. Thank you. So much gold today, as I said earlier, just so appreciative of your time and everyone else's as well. So thank you for that.
Of course. Good to have you here. Thank you.
Well, that does wrap up our time. I don't want to keep Lenka any longer. She has talked and given us such great value over the last hour and a half. Lenka, do you have any kind of last comment, words of advice, just kind of to sum everything up for us?
I would say try to approach marketing from the perspective of find a way to make it enjoyable for you. So try to not to allow yourself to be overwhelmed by the options, not to feel the pressure of all the shoulds, not to feel that you have to be brilliant at it immediately and that your content needs to reach to thousands of people. And especially right now where the world is upside down in a way, and the behaviors of people on social media are changing very much. The attentions are going in and out, and people are detoxing and looking at news and avoiding news. Don't get too bogged down by the initial numbers or by some of the kind of dips ins and outs. I always say that if my content resonates with one person and I get one meaningful conversation through that, that's enough for me. And always keep in mind that not everyone will show up, that you will not see the impact that you're making always. There are so many people who will be lurking, who will be observing. I so often get a person reaching out to me to be like, can we work together? I've watched your content for years. I've followed you. And I'm like, who are you? Where have you been? Like, we haven't connected. You haven't commented. You haven't I have no idea. But that person tells me that they've been watching me for years and now they are ready to work with me. So be also just remember that everyone will be always visible, even though you can measure so much on social media. There always will be the layer of unseen, and that's okay. And yeah, just try to find your own footing, try to find your own way. Just embrace whatever comes natural to you, play into your strengths. and focus on what is essential. Don't try to do everything, be everywhere. Just do the bare minimum, do it your way, and find a way to enjoy that. I would say that's my advice.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And great. Lenka has put her details in there. I will send out this record or a link to this recording for everyone who's been here tonight. So if you missed the beginning, you'll get access to the recording. And just please do connect with Lenka. She's I'll send you her LinkedIn as well, and so that you can. Is that the best place to connect with you, Lenka?
Yep,
LinkedIn?
LinkedIn. I will just shortly pop it in the chat as well, so people can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm slowly coming out of a month-long sabbatical where I just wasn't feeling like posting because of the world was upside down. But I finally got a little bit more of a energy and willingness to do marketing again, because hey, even marketers struggle with marketing, and I will be one of the first people to be like, I hate marketing sometimes. So you're not the only ones. But yeah, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a message. And I have shared my booking page where you can book a call. There is a 30 minutes for anyone who wants to just talk about their specific case, because I know that this has been a very generic session and lots of the answers are, it depends. Figure it out for yourself. So if you want someone to talk it through and figure it out specifically, then go ahead, book a call. The next month or so is pretty booked up because I will be 2 weeks in Spain, not working, just having fun. But then whenever there is a time in the calendar, go ahead, book yourself a time slot and let's chat.
Thank you so much, Lenka. Thank you for all the value you've given us today. I always learn from you, and I knew it would be a great session to bring you on. So thank you on behalf of everyone here, and thank you everyone for coming along and asking so many insightful questions. That's made the conversation really rich. So thank you everybody, and see you soon, hopefully.
Thank you everyone. It was wonderful to be here with you. Thank you. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you very much for the useful